I lost my home. Or so I thought. My grandmother knew something. My parents lied. I didn't argue. I just showed up. 3 days later, their faces said everything. My name is Kelsey Thompson. Single mom, 6-year-old daughter named Addison. That morning, we were outside the Minneapolis Community Lodge, our temporary spot that had already stretched way too long. Addison's mismatched socks were the least of our problems, but they still stung every time I looked down. A black sedan glided to the curb. Door opened. My grandmother, Patricia Langford, stepped out. Same tailored coat, same unflinching gaze that used to make boardrooms quiet down without her raising her voice. She looked at me, then at the sign above the entrance, then back at me. "Kelsey," she said, voice low and steady. "Why aren't you living in the townhouse on Lake Street?" The street tilted. Townhouse? Lake Street? I blinked hard, words stuck somewhere between shock and disbelief. Addison tugged my sleeve, small voice barely above a whisper. "Mom, do we have a house?" Patricia didn't repeat herself. She just opened the back door of the car. "Get in." I froze for a heartbeat. Addison climbed in first, backpack clutched tight. I slid in beside her, door shutting with a soft, expensive click. Inside, the heater was already running. Patricia gripped the wheel, eyes forward. "By tonight," she said quietly, "I will know exactly who did this." And just like that, the pieces I'd been forcing together for months cracked wide open. This wasn't about finding shelter anymore. This was about a secret my own parents had buried, and my grandmother had just dug it up. Nếu bạn từng bị chính gia đình đẩy vào đường cùng, rồi bất ngờ thấy sự thật được phơi bày trước mắt, hãy like video này và subscribe để nghe hết câu chuyện, vì phần tiếp theo mới thực sự khiến bạn không thể rời mắt. But to understand why I was standing outside that lodge with my daughter that morning, I have to go back about 6 months. I was still working retail at a big box store in the suburbs, 12-hour shifts stocking shelves, dealing with angry customers, and trying to keep a smile while my feet screamed. Pay was barely enough for one person, let alone a single mom and a 6-year-old. Rent in Minneapolis had jumped again, and every apartment I looked at wanted first, last, security deposit, plus proof of income 3 times the rent. I was falling behind fast. That's when Linda and Steven offered to let us stay with them, just until things stabilize. They lived in a decent split level in a quiet neighborhood, extra bedroom upstairs, backyard Addison could play in. Linda said it herself. "Family helps family, Kelsey. We've got the space." Steven nodded along, quiet as always. At first, it felt like a lifeline. I paid what I could toward groceries and utilities. Addison slept in my old childhood room. I worked my shifts, came home exhausted, helped with dinner, kept everything tidy so nobody could complain. For a couple weeks, it almost worked. Then the comments started. Small ones, the kind you brush off until they stack up. "You're always so tired," Linda would say while folding laundry I hadn't asked her to touch. "Maybe if you managed your time better." Steven would sigh when Addison left crayons on the coffee table. "We're trying to keep the house nice here." I swallowed it. I told myself it was temporary. I kept applying for apartments during my breaks, scrolling listings on my phone in the employee break room while the microwave hummed. Then came the night everything changed. I'd pulled a double shift, inventory count that ran until 11. My legs felt like lead when I pulled into the driveway. The porch light was on. 2 cardboard boxes sat on the step. My boxes, clothes, Addison's toys, our toiletries, all packed and waiting. I tried the door, locked. I knocked. Nothing. I knocked harder. The door cracked open a few inches. Linda's face appeared, calm, like she'd been expecting me. "Keep your voice down," she whispered. "Neighbors. Why are my things out here?" My voice shook despite trying to stay even. Steven's voice came from behind her, flat. "We talked about this, Kelsey. Independence. It hasn't even been 45 days, I said. Linda's expression didn't change. Plans shift. I looked past her. Addison was curled up on the hallway floor near the coat rack, jacket balled under her head like a pillow, still in her school clothes, eyes closed but breathing fast the way kids do when they're pretending to sleep. "Where are we supposed to go?" I hissed. Linda gave that thin smile. "You'll figure it out. You always do." The door started closing. I stepped forward just enough to scoop Addison up. She stirred, arms automatically wrapping around my neck, mumbling something sleepy I couldn't catch. Linda's hand was already on the knob. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be." The door clicked shut. I carried Addison to the car, set her in the back seat, buckled her in while she stayed half asleep. The boxes went in the trunk. I drove. No destination, just away. Streetlights blurred past. Rain started, cold, steady Minnesota rain that turned the windshield into a smear. I pulled into a gas station lot eventually, killed the engine, and sat there listening to the heater click off. Addison slept across the back seat, small body curled tight. I stared at my phone. No missed calls, no texts, nothing. The next few days blurred together. Day shifts, night shifts, gas station food because it was cheap. A motel one night, cash only, no questions. Money ran out fast. Addison stopped asking when we'd go home. She just got quieter. By the end of the week, a school counselor pulled me aside after drop-off. She asked gently if everything was okay at home. I lied the first time. She asked again. Addison was watching me from the hallway, learning exactly how to hide the truth, so I told her. 2 days later, I was sitting at intake at the Minneapolis Community Lodge, filling out forms while Addison swung her legs under the chair, humming to herself like nothing was wrong. The intake worker was kind but tired. "Last address?" "My car," I said. She nodded, checked a box. Addison leaned over, voice too loud for the quiet room. "Is this our new house, Mom?" The worker flinched, just slightly. I forced a smile. "No, sweetheart. It's temporary." The word tasted like a lie even as I said it. 3 days after Patricia showed up at the lodge, we were sitting in a small diner a few blocks away, the kind with vinyl booths, strong coffee, and a jukebox nobody used anymore. The heater blasted warm air straight at my face, thawing the chill that had settled in my bones for months. Addison had already found the kids' menu and was coloring the cartoon waffle with fierce concentration, tongue poking out the side of her mouth. Patricia ordered hot chocolate for her without asking. Extra marshmallows. I watched the steam rise from the mug and felt something twist in my chest. Simple kindness shouldn't feel so foreign. Patricia set her phone on the table and looked straight at me. "Kelsey," she said, voice calm but edged with steel. "The townhouse on Lake Street. I arranged it for you and Addison. I bought it outright 6 months ago. I gave the keys to Linda to handle the handover. Paperwork, move-in date, everything. She told me it was done. You were settled." I stared at her. The words landed like stones in still water. A house, for us, bought, and handed to my own mother. I never knew," I managed. My throat felt tight. She never said a word, not one. Patricia didn't flinch. She just nodded once, like she'd already suspected as much. Addison looked up from her coloring. "Mom, do we really have a house?" Her eyes were wide, hopeful in a way that cut deeper than anything Linda had ever said. I swallowed hard. "I don't know yet, baby," I whispered. "We're figuring it out." Patricia reached across the table and touched Addison's hand lightly. A small gesture, but it made my daughter smile for the first time in what felt like forever. Then Patricia picked up her phone, tapped once, and put it on speaker. "James," she said when the line connected. "It's Patricia Langford. I need the full file on the Lake Street townhouse. Who signed for the keys? Current occupancy status. Rental history, if any. Bank transfers. Send it now." The man on the other end answered quickly. "Yes, ma'am. Pulling it up. Give me 2 minutes." Patricia ended the call without another word. She looked at me again. "By tonight," she repeated, quieter this time, "I will know exactly who did this." Addison went back to coloring, humming softly. I couldn't sit still. My hands shook under the table. A house. Not a dream. A real place with keys, walls, a door that locked from the inside. And my mother had the keys. Had them. And never told me. The waitress brought our food. Eggs for me, pancakes for Addison, black coffee for Patricia. I pushed the plate away. Appetite gone. Patricia didn't eat either. She just waited. A few minutes later, her phone buzzed. She opened the email, scanned it, then turned the screen toward me slightly so I could see without Addison noticing. First attachment, property deed. Patricia Langford, owner. Purchase date 6 months back. Second, key release form. Signed by Linda Bennett. Date 1 week after closing. Third, a listing screenshot from a rental site. Townhouse on Lake Street. Furnished. Available August 1. Monthly rent figure blacked out. But the photos showed the living room, kitchen, 2 bedrooms, one with a window seat that would have been perfect for Addison's stuffed animals. Fourth, bank statement snippet. Monthly deposits into an account under Linda and Stephen Bennett. Starting August. I felt the blood drain from my face. They rented it out, I whispered. Patricia closed the phone. Her expression didn't change, but her knuckles went white around the coffee mug. Yes, she said simply. They did. Addison finished her waffle drawing and slid the menu toward me. Look, Mom, I made the syrup purple. I forced a smile. Took the paper. It's beautiful. Sweetheart, really brave colors. Inside, everything was spinning. Linda had looked me in the eye while I packed our lives into boxes. She'd told me to figure it out, all while collecting rent checks from strangers living in the home meant for us. Patricia leaned forward slightly. I trusted her, she said. That was my mistake, not yours. She stood up, left cash on the table, more than enough for the meal and a big tip, and motioned toward the door. We're not going back to the lodge tonight, she said. You and Addison are coming with me. I didn't argue. Pride had already lost that fight months ago. Addison grabbed her backpack and my hand. We followed Patricia out into the cold Minneapolis afternoon. The sedan waited at the curb. Door open, heater running. For the first time in half a year, I let myself believe things might actually change. In that same diner booth, with Addison still happily coloring her purple syrup, Patricia picked up her phone again. She didn't hesitate. She dialed Linda's number and switched to speaker so I could hear every word. The line rang twice. Linda answered bright and cheerful, like she was expecting a casual check-in. Mom, what a surprise! How are you doing today? Patricia's tone stayed even, almost gentle. I was thinking about Kelsey. How is she doing? There was the tiniest pause, the kind where someone decides which version of the truth to sell. Oh, she's doing great, Linda said smoothly. She's settled in the townhouse on Lake Street. Loves the place. Quiet neighborhood, good schools nearby. She wanted her own space, so we didn't want to bother you with updates. You know how independent she is. I stared at the sticky tabletop. My stomach twisted so hard I thought I might be sick right there. Independent. That word again, the one she'd used while locking me out. Patricia let the silence stretch. She didn't interrupt. She just listened while Linda kept talking, filling the quiet with cheerful details. We helped her move in back in August. She's been working steady, paying her own bills. Addison has her own room now. Painted it pink last month. Everything's perfect. Really proud of her. Addison glanced up at the sound of her name but went right back to her crayons. Humming. Linda kept going. Family's doing well too. Stephen's been busy at work. We're actually planning a little anniversary thing soon. You should come if you're in town. Patricia finally spoke. That's good to hear. She ended the call. No goodbye. No confrontation. Just the line going dead. The diner noise filled the space. Clinking plates, low chatter, the hiss of the coffee machine. Addison slid her finished picture toward me. Mom, the waffle has sparkles now. I took it, managed a nod. It's amazing, baby. Patricia set the phone down carefully. That, she said quietly, wasn't confusion. That was a practiced lie. I let out a short, bitter laugh that sounded more like a cough. She sounded so sure, like she'd rehearsed it. She had, Patricia replied. Multiple times, probably. I looked at my daughter, who was now stacking sugar packets into a little tower. She had no idea the woman on the phone had just described a life we'd never lived. Patricia leaned in slightly. The documents James sent confirm it. Linda signed for the keys. The rental listing went live right after. Payments hit their joint account every month. They didn't just forget to tell you. They turned it into income. My hands clenched under the table. All those nights in the car, all the times I begged for help, and they were cashing checks from strangers sleeping in our beds. Patricia didn't soften the truth. Yes. Addison knocked over her sugar tower and giggled. The sound cut through the heaviness like a knife. Patricia glanced at her, then back at me. We're not done here, but she doesn't need to hear the rest. I nodded. I reached over and smoothed Addison's hair. Finish your hot chocolate, okay? We're going somewhere warmer soon. She beamed. With Grandma Patricia? Patricia's expression softened for the first time that afternoon. Yes, sweetheart. With me? We left the diner a few minutes later. Addison skipped ahead to the car, clutching her coloring page. Patricia walked beside me, steps measured. I trusted your mother with this, she said as we reached the sedan. I won't make that mistake again. The door opened. Heater on. Addison climbed in first. I slid in next to her, pulled the door shut, and for the first time since the night I'd been locked out, I felt something shift. Not relief yet, not anger alone. Something colder, clearer. The truth had a shape now, and it was uglier than I'd imagined. When the sedan pulled up outside the hotel ballroom 3 days later, the parking lot was already half full of cars I recognized from family photos I hadn't looked at in years. The sign near the entrance read, Bennett 30th Anniversary Celebration in elegant gold script. Inside, soft lighting, round tables with white linens, and the low hum of relatives catching up. Patricia had insisted on the dress. Nothing flashy, just a simple navy one that fit well and made me feel put together instead of desperate. You don't need armor, she'd said in the hotel room earlier. You need dignity. Addison wore a little blue dress with tights and shiny shoes. She twirled once in the lobby mirror and announced, I look like a princess from the library book. Patricia arranged a small private suite upstairs for Addison, stocked with snacks, coloring books, and a trusted hotel sitter who specialized in kids during events. Addison took one look at the room, hugged me tight, then turned to Patricia seriously. Do I get cookies too? Patricia smiled, small, real. The good ones. Chocolate chip. Addison accepted that promise like a contract and waved as the sitter led her away. Bye, Mom. Bye, Grandma Patricia. The door closed softly behind them. Patricia turned to me in the hallway. You go in first. I knew why. Let them see me before they saw her. Let the room feel the shift in temperature without knowing why yet. I walked through the double doors alone. The chatter dipped for a second, then picked up again. The polite kind where people pretend they didn't notice. Aunts and uncles I hadn't spoken to in months nodded hello. Cousins smiled too wide. Then Linda saw me. Her wine glass paused halfway to her lips. The smile appeared automatically, then froze. Her eyes flicked over my dress, my posture, the fact that I wasn't carrying the weight of exhaustion on my face anymore. She recovered fast, but not fast enough. Stephen noticed a beat later. His laugh cut off mid-sentence, jaw tightened. Neither of them moved toward me. No. Where have you been? No. How's Addison? Just calculation behind their eyes. Uncle Gregory, Linda's younger brother, was near the bar. He spotted me, raised his glass in a half wave, then looked away quickly. Something in his posture said he knew more than he wanted to admit. I stayed near the edge of the room, let the silence do its work. Someone offered me a drink. I declined. Another asked how work was going. I said, steady, and left it there. A minute passed, maybe 2. Then, the air changed. Patricia Langford entered, calm, unhurried, completely in control. She wore a charcoal suit that looked effortless but cost more than my monthly rent used to. Beside her walked a man in a dark blazer carrying a slim laptop bag, her assistant, the one who handled details without ever raising his voice. Linda went pale, not surprised pale, more like realizing the escape route is blocked pale. Stephen straightened his tie, shoulders squaring like he was preparing for a fight he already knew he'd lose. Patricia nodded to a few relatives, polite, distant, then looked directly at Linda. "Linda," she said lightly, loud enough for the nearest tables to hear. "Before we sit down to dinner, I'd like to clear up something you told me on the phone." Linda's smile tightened. "Of course, Mom." Patricia didn't rush. She motioned to the assistant. He stepped forward, connected the laptop to the venue's projector with practiced efficiency. The screen lit up behind the head table. First slide, photo of the townhouse on Lake Street. Clean, modern, the kind of place families dream about. A murmur rippled through the room. Linda's glass trembled slightly. Patricia's voice stayed level. "This property was purchased for Kelsey and Addison. Keys were released to you, Linda, in July. You assured me the handover was complete." The next slide appeared. Key release form. Signature clear. Linda Bennett. Stephen cleared his throat loudly. "This isn't the place for..." Patricia turned her gaze to him. "It is exactly the place. This is a family celebration. Family business belongs here." The room went quieter. Another slide. Rental, listing, screenshot. Available now. Furnished townhouse. Lake Street. Contact for details. Photos of the interior. The same rooms Linda had described so vividly on the phone. Then the final slide. Bank transfer records. Monthly deposits. Account holder, Linda and Stephen Bennett. Patricia looked around the room, making sure every eye was on the screen. "You didn't just hold the keys," she said. "You rented it out. And you directed the rent to your own account." Linda's face crumpled. Stephen's hands balled into fists at his sides. Uncle Gregory set his drink down hard enough to make the glass clink. The room held its breath. Patricia didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. The room stayed frozen on that last slide. The bank transfers glowing in black and white, every monthly deposit labeled with dates and amounts that matched the rental period exactly. Linda's hand shook so badly the wine sloshed over the rim of her glass. She set it down hard. The clink echoed. Stephen stepped forward half a step, face red. "This is a family event. You can't just..." "I can," Patricia cut in, tone flat and final. "And I am." She nodded once to her assistant. He advanced the slide without a word. Next, a simple timeline graphic. July. Keys released to Linda Bennett. August. Rental listing posted. September through present. Deposits received. Total figure blacked out for privacy, but the pattern was unmistakable. A few gasps rippled from the back tables. An aunt I barely remembered covered her mouth. Cousins exchanged looks. Patricia turned slightly so the whole room could hear her clearly. This townhouse was purchased for Kelsey and her daughter. It was meant to be their home, stable, safe, theirs. Instead, the keys were used to generate income, for you. Linda found her voice first. Thin, frantic. "Mom, you don't understand. We had debts, medical bills from last year. The house was sitting empty anyway." "Empty?" Patricia repeated the word like it tasted bitter. "It was empty because you never gave Kelsey the keys. You never told her it existed." Stephen jumped in, louder now, trying to reclaim the room. "We were protecting the family asset. Kelsey wasn't ready. She needed to learn responsibility first." I felt heat rush to my face. Responsibility. The word that had justified locking us out in the rain. Patricia's eyes flicked to me for the briefest second, steady, not pitying. Then back to them. "You displaced a child," she said, "for profit." The room went dead quiet. Even the background music from the speakers seemed to fade. Uncle Gregory pushed off the bar, voice low but carrying. "Linda, come on. This is getting out of hand. Let's talk privately." Patricia turned her head toward him. "Gregory, you knew about the listing. You helped show the property to the first tenants. Don't pretend otherwise. Gregory's mouth opened, closed. He looked at his sister, then at the floor. No denial came. Linda started crying then. Real tears. Mascara streaking. We were going to tell her. It was temporary. Just until we caught up. Please, Mom. Patricia didn't soften. Temporary for you. Permanent hardship for them. She motioned again. The assistant stepped forward with a slim folder. He placed it on the head table in front of Linda and Stephen. These are formal notices, Patricia said. Demand for repayment of all rental income received, plus interest. The total exceeds $28,000. Failure to comply will result in civil action. I have already instructed counsel. Stephen snatched the folder, flipped it open, scanned the first page. His face drained of color. Linda reached for my arm across the nearest table. Kelsey, tell her to stop. We're family. We made mistakes, but we're still... I stepped back just enough so her fingers didn't reach me. You should have remembered that, I said quietly, voice steady for the first time in months, before you turned my daughter's home into your side business. The words landed. Linda's hand dropped. She looked around the room, at the relatives who were no longer pretending to look away. Some shook their heads slowly, others stared at their plates. Patricia addressed the room one last time. Starting now, Linda and Stephen receive no further financial support from me. No transfers, no loans, no inheritance advances. What they have done ends here. She turned to her assistant. We're finished. The projector went dark. Patricia walked toward the exit without another glance back. The assistant followed. I stayed just long enough to see Linda sink into her chair, shoulders shaking. Stephen stood frozen, folder clutched like it might burn him. Uncle Gregory tried to approach her, but she waved him off. I didn't wait for the aftermath. I turned and walked out of the ballroom, down the carpeted hallway, past the quiet elevators, and straight to the private suite upstairs. Addison looked up from her coloring when I opened the door. Cheeks full of cookie crumbs. Mom! They had chocolate chips and sprinkles. I crouched down, pulled her into a hug so tight she squeaked. Yeah, baby, I whispered. They did. She leaned back, studied my face. Are we done here? I nodded. We're done. We left the hotel together, hand in hand, no looking back. I didn't stay to watch the rest of the collapse. I walked out of the ballroom with Addison's hand in mine, her small fingers sticky from cookie crumbs. She didn't ask why we were leaving early. She just swung our joined hands like it was any normal evening. Back in the hotel suite, I helped her change into pajamas while Patricia waited in the sitting area. Addison climbed into the big bed, tucked her stuffed rabbit under her chin, and looked up at me. Mom, are we going to the new house tonight? I smoothed the blanket over her. Soon, baby. Very soon. She yawned, eyes already heavy. Okay. Night, Mom. I kissed her forehead and turned off the lamp. The door clicked shut behind me. Patricia was standing by the window, city lights reflecting off the glass. She didn't turn right away. They're still in there, she said quietly. Trying to explain. It won't change anything. I sat on the edge of the couch. What happens now? Patricia finally looked at me. They repay what they took. $28,000, plus interest and legal fees. My attorney has already filed the demand. If they don't settle, it goes to civil court. Minnesota law is clear on conversion of property and unjust enrichment. They won't win. I nodded slowly. The number felt huge and small at the same time. Huge because it was money we never saw. Small because it was the price of what they'd done. And the house? Title transfers to you tomorrow. I've already instructed the closing agent. No liens, no complications. It's yours outright. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. Thank you. Patricia shook her head once. Don't thank me. I should have checked sooner. I trusted the wrong person. She sat across from me. They'll lose more than money. Friends will distance themselves. Invitations will stop. The story will spread. Quietly at first, then not so quietly. In their circle, reputation is currency. They've spent it all. I thought about Linda's mascara-streaked face, Stephen's frozen grip on the folder, Uncle Gregory's failed attempt to intervene. None of it felt like victory. It felt like the end of something that had never really been family. They tried to call me, I said, right after we left the ballroom. Blocked the number. Good, Patricia replied. Keep it blocked. No contact. No explanations. They don't get to rewrite this. We sat in silence for a while. The city hummed below us. Patricia stood eventually. Get some rest. Tomorrow we sign papers. Then you and Addison start fresh. I walked her to the door. Before she left, she paused. You survived worse than a room full of liars, she said. You'll survive this too. The door closed softly. I went back to the bedroom, slipped under the covers beside Addison. She stirred, curled into me automatically. For the first time in months, sleep came without the knot in my chest. The next morning we met Patricia at her attorney's office downtown. Papers signed. Keys handed over. Real keys, not promises. The townhouse on Lake Street was ours. We drove there straight from the office. Addison ran up the steps first, backpack bouncing. She pushed the door open and stopped dead in the hallway. Mom, it's big. Sunlight poured through the windows. Empty rooms waiting for our things. A kitchen with a breakfast bar. 2 bedrooms upstairs. One with that window seat I'd seen in the listing photos. Addison spun in the living room. Can I pick my room? I laughed. Real, surprised. You pick first. She raced upstairs. I followed slower, touching the walls like they might disappear. Patricia stayed by the front door, watching. This is yours now, she said. No one can take it. I turned to her. You didn't have to do all this. I did, she answered simply, because no one else would. She left shortly after, promised to come back Sunday with pastries for Addison. No fuss, no speeches. That afternoon we unpacked the few boxes we had. Addison taped her drawings to the wall in her new room. I stood in the doorway and watched her arrange stuffed animals on the shelf. For the first time, the future didn't feel like something to survive. It felt like something to live in. 5 months later, life on Lake Street feels almost ordinary. The best kind of ordinary. Addison has claimed the bedroom with the window seat. She's taped a crooked gallery of drawings across one wall. Purple waffles, sparkly syrup, a house with a big door that says ours. She walks to school now, backpack swinging, waving at the neighbor's dog like they've always been friends. No more mismatched socks in the morning rush. No more whispering questions about where we'll sleep. I'm still at the retail job, but I've enrolled in an evening certification course, Retail Management Track. 1 class at a time, but it's progress. My energy goes into planning instead of surviving. The townhouse is paid off, utilities in my name. No one can change the locks. Patricia stops by most Sundays with a box of pastries from the bakery downtown. Croissants for me, chocolate ones for Addison. She pretends she's only here for the kid. Addison doesn't buy it. Grandma Patricia, do you like our house? She always asks. Patricia pauses, like she's swallowing something heavy. Then she says, yes, I do. She never stays long, never lectures. Just checks in, makes sure the fridge is stocked, leaves quietly. That's enough. As for Linda and Stephen, the consequences landed hard and real. They repaid the $28,000. Not voluntarily. Patricia's attorney didn't negotiate. Civil suit was filed within weeks. Judgment came fast. Conversion of property, breach of fiduciary duty as trustee of the intended gift. They had no defense. The money came from their savings, then a second mortgage on their own house. Friends stopped calling. Invitations dried up. The anniversary party photos never made it to social media. Their circle, the one built on appearances, quietly closed ranks without them. Uncle Gregory tried to mediate once. Sent a single email asking to talk things out for the family. I didn't reply. He hasn't tried again. Linda called from different numbers a few times in the first month. Voicemails that started with apologies and ended with pleas for help. I blocked every one. No second chances for people who turned desperation into profit. I don't hate them. Hate takes energy I don't have anymore. I just don't let them near what we've rebuilt. Addison doesn't ask about Grandma Linda or Grandpa Stephen. She used to, early on. Now she just says, "We have Grandma Patricia and our house." That's all she needs. Sometimes I stand in the kitchen at night, lights low, looking out at the quiet street. I think about the nights in the car, the intake forms at the lodge, the diner booth where the truth finally had shape. I survived it. We both did. And the lesson isn't complicated. Family isn't blood. Family is the person who shows up when you're at your lowest and protects you instead of profiting from it. That's the only kind worth keeping.